It's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumen by a romping 10.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Champ.ie. Where have we been since we were last assembled here? I've been in bed. Barry's had the most expensive fortnight of his life. He's uttered those words, "I do," which basically means you sign on the dotted line, but congratulations to him. He now does have a real live mother-in-law. And Ronan has just been tipping winners for fun and enjoying his Christmas. Anyway, we're going to put the two lads on the spot tonight to try and work out a weekend of racing, which is a bit of a strange one, really, because it's obviously the weekend that is kept spare should, for instance, the Welsh National or one of the Kempton big races over Christmas need to be rescheduled. But a very good card at Sandown. Our special guest is always a must listen. And I'm delighted to say that we hear from Shark Hanlon, who's taking on his old mentor, Willie Mullins, in the mares race, not literally, at Sandown on Saturday. And that should be a really good race as well. And of course, we'll also touch base about Sunday and the Moore family race, which is always a really competitive €80,000 pot at Fairyhouse, which is the weekend's feature. Anyway, Happy New Year to all. Do please keep those comments coming, particularly words of sympathy and encouragement for Mr. Doyle. Probably needs it all because Energumen didn't run either, so he couldn't actually run out of the back in Energumen to pay for his wedding reception. And Ronan is just all water off a duck's back to him. Let's go anyway. And we start at Sandown because it is the first, in a similar way as we had the big race in Naas, the first Grade 1 in Ireland. This weekend we have the first Grade 1 in the UK. And like the Irish race, it is a novice hurdle, but it is a very good novice hurdle, and it's a novice hurdle with history. It is the Unibet Tolworth, and there are 6 runners. It's going to be quite testing at Sandown, you would think, but none of them are from Ireland, so this one does stay at home. Sandown soft, heavy in places on the hurdles course, and all eyes on a horse called Constitution Hill, who really impressed me last time. Michael Buckley's colours carried it. They're going to try and win it for a 3rd time, he and Nico de Bourneville. Very short though, Ronan, but deservedly so.
I'd imagine so. Mike, yeah, definitely. You mean, like, he was so impressive first time up, wasn't he? He really pulled away from his rivals there over the course and distance. Put up a monster time on the clock. He's second favourite for the Supreme, and he's well hyped and everything. And this doesn't look a particularly strong race, so you'd be disappointed if he didn't get it done, really. Look, at the Tolworth can be a good trial. Often for the Supreme, you're looking probably going back to Somerville Boy, who was the last to do the double. And good novices have won it down the years, like Finian's Oscar and York Hill obviously went on to win the Ballymore. From a betting proposition, I suppose on Saturday, I'm not sure many of our listeners or viewers will want to get involved at 2 to 5. It's not really a working man's price to say. I think the way into the race maybe of the other runners, maybe take Constitution Hill out, so take the betting without, which will be freely available on Saturday morning. And the one I maybe looked at there is the Snowden horse, That's All Right, Gino. He's 2 from 2 this season over hurdles, and I was just impressed with the way he did it last day at Cheltenham. I think he came off a slow pace. He was further back than ideal, and he really picked up well when it turned into a sprint in the straight. Look, he has a bit of form on soft ground in a bumper last season. Don't know if that will hold up properly on the soft and heavy going to Sandown. It'll take some getting, but in a race where the others might set the pace from the likes of Jetoile and Mr. Glass both made the pace last time out, he could just sit in behind and pick up the pieces late on. So he'd be my angle, maybe just into the race from a betting without Constitution Hill, who really should get it done here at the odds-on price.
Do you agree, Barry?
Well, Constitution Hill is the most remarkable horse I've ever seen. Nicky, well, we won't be able to hear the Nicky Henderson after a match. I think he's COVID, has he? It's been reported. Nicky Henderson. I do agree. He's probably the most likely winner. He's, what is he, 2 to 5 best price, Constitution Hill. That being said, he's only had one run over hurdles. So there's a couple in here that are, I suppose, I'm not sure they're going to be stars in behind them in the betting. And my angle into the race is actually, Ronan's probably going to start giving out to me now about Gary Moore. But Shall We Have One More has been backed into an out market, and he's best price 11-4. And I think, he was impressive. I know Gary Moore has been, his comments about the horse pre-season. He's a bumper winner at Kempton last year. The ground was good. I thought he was impressive. The bumper at Kempton in March, the second hasn't run since, and I'm not sure how well it's worked out, but I'd give this horse another chance. He pulled very hard last time out at Ascot. He was kind of held on to, I thought, for possibly too long. He was never going to get home, I think, how hard he pulled, but I think he stuck at it well enough and finished at a length and a quarter, I think, back. He's back in second, but just got pipped late on by the Nichols horse. But he'd be one, I think, he could step forward from that run. And I thought even in the betting market, there's probably, in my view, there may be too big a difference. 2-5, 9-1, I think best price. Shall We Have One More? I mean, they've both only had one start over hurdles. I think this fella could be talented. So, but I think to maybe take on Constitution Hill, I think he could be quite special. It's probably not the wisest option, so I will be having a bet on Shall We Have One More without.
Remember, of course, it's a race that the Tizzards have bombed in recent years. But Gary Moore, Shall We Have One More? Well, the second at Ascot, is it good enough? The fascinating thing for me is that Richard Newland and Sam Twiston-Davis have thrown Whiz Kid straight in this off the back of nothing, and whether it's simply because of the prize money. This is the horse that actually was winning in Germany back, and France had been doing the European circuit, and this is a British debut in a Group 1. I find it fascinating because I think Andreas Vola had the horse before that, so it's a strange old race in many ways.
Hands up, please. Can I come in? Gary Moore's on a 30% strike rate at the moment. That's quite impressive. And I just think it's interesting, Mike, that, they chuck him into a Grade 1. He hasn't won over hurdles. So they obviously think quite a lot of him. I don't think there's any stars in behind Constitution Hill. And I'd be quite keen on him without.
And we've got a really competitive feature handicap chase. And a lot of people talk about the new series they bring in. Ireland got on the bandwagon as well. These veterans races are wonderful, and the public love them. It's a huge pot of 100,000, and Sandown with that great long wide finishing straight. Nothing ever wins this final by very much, so it's greatly a really competitive race. And no matter whether it's the highest quality race, well, Tolworth, of course, is top draw, or certainly was in his pomp. There's a few that we don't know too much about, like Gwen Silly Burbus, who won Halden, like Rolling Dillon for the team Hobbs. And down the bottom, you wouldn't rule out Indy 5 either. Ronan, a really good handicap this. It's very hard to know where to start.
Yeah, this is a much better from a betting point of view, Mike. And as you said, they're great races, a great series. And this is the perfect weekend for it, really, isn't it? Quiet kind of weekend in January after all the Christmas action, and you can give it its proper billing. It's as I said, it's a much more interesting race, I think, than the feature, the Grade 1. ASO is in their favourite, as you say, and yeah, he looks potentially well handicapped. He was rated 158 only last March. He's 149 here, and obviously his run the last day he finished second ahead up to Blackline, and that form has been enhanced since. Blackline won very well back a Haydock on his next start, so you could make a case for him being well handicapped. I'm slightly worried about his ability to go right-handed. He has won over that, but it was way back during when he was running over hurdles, and most of his runs have all been like Cheltenham, Newbury, left-handed tracks. Just be slightly worried about that. And I think there's a couple in here that are quite interesting. Final Nudge obviously did it nicely at Warwick the last day. And he's a horse that will love the soft ground and he'll stay very well. But a horse that was fourth to him there at Warwick called Sir Ivan for Harry Fry was my choice here at 10-1. Just the price angle, really. 10-1 and 6-1 final nudge. There wasn't much between them at Warwick. Sir Ivan was staying on quite well. And significantly, Sir Ivan was third to See You at Midnight in this race last season. Now he's £5 higher, but he likes the course and distance. He likes the soft ground. It was soft ground here last time. And, Harry Fry has probably just mapped his whole season around coming back here because, as you said, Mike, the prize money is so good. So I had a few quid on Sir Ivan when the declarations came through at 10-1. I thought that was a fine price.
And Barry, of course, Sandown fences. This is a great spectacle to watch, and these old boys will love it. Some of them are almost as old as you. Where have you come down here?
You're speaking about me being old. This is the Veterans Chase. And going back to my younger days, I actually saw Glenn Silly Burbass win his first race, the Banbury Juvenile Hurdle. I think it was a graded race at Fairyhouse, his first start in Ireland, way back in February of 2015. It was soft ground that day, Mike Vince. 28 runs later, he lines up here at Sandown. It's interesting. This horse is rated. He's moved to the pipes. So he's gone up. He was with Eric McNamara. Sorry, he was with Alan Fleming. Then he was with Eric McNamara. He's now with David Pipe. He's gone up. He moved to pipes in May, and he's gone up a full. He's gone up a full £10 in the market. He won last time. It was impressive at Exeter, I thought. He was a 9.5 length winner. He carried a big weight that day. So he's gone up to a mark now of 132 for the win. But all his winning has been on soft ground. He's rated 149 over hurdles. And he's always struck me as a chaser. So I think this fella he could have a bit of juice in his mark over fences. He could be quite well in here, and he's a big old price at 11-1 best price for the race. So it's actually quite a strong selection here. I was impressed with him last time, as I say, and he's soft ground. His mark is good. He's obviously in form, and he's recently switched to the pipes. I think he could go in again here.
Pipes, of course, have done really well in this series. They retired via Leon Rouge just in the last few days, but they got a decent strike rate. And I've got to say that because he's won around Sandown, I would want to put Wandering Star in my mix as well. Kim Bailey, another trainer who does well. And it is often the same trainers that do well in these sort of races. But it seems to me, Ronan, that this is one of those races where you can't put a line through anything with any great confidence.
No, it's wide open, as you say, and it's always a tight finish. Mike, they always seem to come down the straight there, and anything could win it, and that's why it's so exciting, I guess. The Wandering Star's got the course and distance form. I don't know. It's hard. I just thought when I was looking at the race, I just thought 3-1 looked short for ASO in this type of race. Albeit I think that he could be easy. He could be well handicapped. I'm just worried about him going right-handed as well. But one other mention, just for the Philip Hobbs horse, I think you mentioned him briefly, Mike. Rolling Dillon. He was with Laura Parker last season, and he's had 2 starts. Done okay. He ran second here the last day. And it just potentially could be well treated back with Hobbs. Maybe, he's had 2 goals already. That would just be slightly put me off that he hasn't found the improvement yet. But maybe they'll get to the bottom of him here, or maybe this was the ultimate target. So he was interesting as well, around 10-1. But I'm going to stick with Sir Ivan to hit the frame again.
Well, let's move on to a race which isn't actually on terrestrial telly, but is a very good race for £25,000. And it's going to tell us quite a bit. 5 runners in the Unibet 3 Uniboost a Day Mares Hurdle. And of the 5 runners, 2 are trained in Ireland. And they fought out the finish of that big Grade 1 at Fairyhouse last Easter when Skyace beat Gauloise. Gauloise has had a win this year. Skyace hasn't won since. But can the Shark, who of course worked for Willie Mullins, get one over his old boss again? Well, Barry's been talking to Shark Hanlon about Skyace. Jodie McGarvey entrusted with the steering.
Delighted to be joined on the Champ.ie podcast by Bagenalstown trainer John the Shark Hanlon. John, an exciting weekend coming up. You're en route.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have a Philly to go over for this race. She's been very good to me the whole time along, and hopefully that won't change over here on Saturday. We're en route here. We're near coming off the boat. We're in Holyhead, and listen, all we need is a bit of luck. We have one of Willie's in it to take on, but we've beaten her twice before, so and she's favoured. So listen, I think the mare could be overpriced again once more. Like she's there 9-1 there, and I don't think she deserves to be that.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I suppose the Willie Mullins filly Galway's. She bet her off level weights, of course, at Fairyhouse when she won the Grade 1. So I suppose she's only given her a pound this time round. You'd have to think that she's overpriced nearly at 9-1, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would. This is only 5 runners, and the mare's in great form. So when she's in great form, we're entitled to be over here. That's a listed race. Try and get a bit more black type on her card, and a bit of luck on her side.
Absolutely. And as you say, like she's plenty of experience. I think she's had, is it 14 runs over hurdles? The ground is soft, John. She's won on all types of grounds. What's your feeling, I suppose, about the ground?
Listen, I'd love if the ground wasn't as soft, but there's nothing we can do about it. Like we know that probably yielding ground is her ground, but there's nothing we can do about it at this stage now. On a drive on, with a little bit of luck, she might bring back the UK test.
Yeah, 2 mile forward. She obviously won at Fairyhouse, going right-handed. Obviously, do you think is that a help to her?
I tell you, it probably is. But like she was fourth in Cheltenham last year over 2 miles, and I said this trip is definitely more suitable. She wants 2.5. I think 2.5 is her trip, and with a little bit of luck there, I think she'll stay no problem. And just if we could get the ground, if it was like no rain for the next day or two, to be a big help.
You mentioned, I suppose, the ground. Obviously, she's had 3 starts already this season. Ran at Galway, of course. Ran then a Fairyhouse, 2 runs in Fairyhouse. Last time out behind Honeysuckle. Do you think she's come on fitness-wise?
Definitely, and like we're taking on the best in Ireland that day, and she needed the run probably, and she, when you're taking on them good reasons, there was nothing in Ireland for her, and that's the reason that we're over here.
Yeah. Okay.
There's nothing there suit her. Like when you win a Grade 1 in Ireland, knocks out a lot of good races over Christmas, so there was nothing to suit her over Christmas. And that's the reason we're here. We're heading across the water now.
Brilliant stuff, John. And it is, in terms of just Skyace, obviously the owners, it's been well, I suppose, documented, I suppose, even coming up to Fairyhouse. Tell us, I suppose, a brief synopsis of how the syndicate came about. The lads are based, is it Dubai?
Dubai and Abu Dhabi, yeah. There's a couple of Dublin people on it, but the chap that rang me looking for a horse, he had a horse with me before, he had a couple of horses with me, and we always had a bit of luck. And he rang me one day and he said, listen, we're looking for a horse for a syndicate. And I said, I'm going to the sales, and we went to the sales, and I thought we'd have to give her 12 grand for this filly, and I bought her at 600. And I think she's won over 100,000 last year.
It's amazing the way a story like that can just develop. And there's a mate of mine, of course, involved in it. I think it's Fenton de Zobo, who had a run. So yeah. I think that syndicate was maybe a branch off of that. So it's amazing the way,
It was a branch off of that. So it was a look at he got a little horse, but he's back going now, and he's going to be a lovely horse for the rest of the season. He probably wants a bit better ground than what's there at the moment. But we got a run back into him the other day, and we're very happy with it.
Absolutely. Well, look, it's going to be an exciting weekend upcoming for yourself. It is a listed race. Of course, the prize money is decent. So, Is this your first trip to Sandown, John, or have you been over and about before?
No, the last time I was in Sandown, we were in Sandown, the racing was called on that morning, we had to come home. it's just snowing. So hopefully that won't happen this time.
Yeah, a bit choppy. I think you were a bit late docking, were you, when we rang you?
We were. It was okay though, across just when we were getting in. He was finding it hard to get docked. He had 3 or 4 attempts at it before he got there, so we're probably 45 minutes late. But listen, we're here now and we're okay down the road, so we'll take it as it comes from now on.
Couple of extra carrots for Skyace. I must mention, John, look, it's a season. I suppose your season is going well. You know, you're well over the 100 mark in terms of prize money, and it's still early days. In terms of, I suppose, runners, go ahead.
Well, listen, we had a great season. Probably the best season we ever had. We had a Grade 1 winner, and we had the 2 winners there over Christmas. And kind of this time of the year, we go a lot for pint to pint. So our 3-year-olds now are coming into hand, so they'll start in February. And I think I have a few lovely horses there, 2 or 3 affinity horses there. I think they're quite smart, and they'll be running now in February in the pint scene. But like usually from November on, we kind of concentrate on the pinters, because that's where the money is, and it keeps the show going the whole time.
Absolutely, no. It's obviously a good operation there. I was just saying to the lads before we come on there. I got Shark Hanlon, a can of Fanta on my own stag. So you'll have to. There's a couple of thirsty Champ.ie listeners. You'll have to maybe. Is there any? I suppose one of the young horses, I suppose in the yard that you think would be paying the way, I suppose, as the season goes on.
And I can't tell you his name, but he's by affinity. He's a brother of Fiddler on the Roof, and I made a statement the other day that he's probably the best horse I've ever trained. So if anyone sees the breeding below, off the top of my head I can't think of his name because he's only left there a week ago, and Rachel does that. So she probably gave him a good name, but he's a half brother to Fiddler on the Roof. And he's by affinity, and I think he's a very smart horse.
Interesting, brilliant stuff, John. Well, we certainly will keep an eye out for the breeding. If he turns out half as good as Fiddler on the Roof, he'll be a decent sort for sure.
No, I think this horse is we bred Fiddler on the Roof. We have the whole family of this lad, but this lad just seems to be doing everything at his ease.
And when are we likely? Are we likely to see him on the track?
He run the first Sunday in February in a pint of pint in I'd say horse and jockey or Bagenalstown, whatever the first Sunday is, he'd go.
This stuff will certainly want to keep an eye out for, John. Thanks for that one. This weekend, I suppose you do have another runner. We must mention Exchange Rate, and that's down to go Cork.
The ground is probably gone again and again. He just don't need that heavy ground, and I think looking at things now that the ground is going to get heavy, and I'm just afraid now that the heavy ground will bog me. So he mightn't even run. If we get more in at home, he mightn't even run. We haven't much to run now for the next couple of weeks. I have my good horse back in Hewick. He won the Dublin National there, and I let him off after it, and he'll go back for the Scottish National in about 8 or 10 weeks' time.
How's he?
He's great now. He's only back in we gave him a break after the National, and he came back, and he's in ripping form there now again. So he'll go for the Scottish National, and listen, I think if he stays improving the way he's improving, he's a very nice horse to have.
Yeah, brilliant. Just I suppose before we kind of wrap up, John, there's obviously a couple of horses that come out, and one for yourself over Christmas. Brelor Nor, he won in a big old prize. Jody McCarvey was on board at Limerick in the maiden hurdle.
Yeah,
thoughts on him?
I think he's a nice horse. I wasn't training him up to his last round. A man in Wexford trained him, and he was running him over 3 mile on good ground, And the first time we got soft ground with him, and in Limerick, he bolted it. So I think that he'll be a nice horse. He'll win plenty of races. You'll see him probably out again in 2 or 3 weeks' time. But yeah, I think that he's only a 4-year-old and he's nearly 17 hands. So he's only coming to himself. I'd say he'll be a lovely horse for next year. But listen, after Mark, he's after getting, I think that we'll have another day. Next day he runs, he won't be far away.
Brilliant. And T component less. Is that how you...
Yeah, he's a nice horse. He won a bumper, won a maiden hurl, won the handicap the other day, and he just needs soft ground. He'll run in Skyace Day in Gordon, and we always get heavy ground for that meeting. And I need a lads that are out there that can have a few bit out for that day.
Brilliant, John. Well, look, we wish you the best of luck this weekend with Skyace, and of course to the lads. Is any of them travelling over?
There's talking about coming back from Dubai, 2 lads from Wexford, and there's one girl from Dublin, and they're definitely going. And there's one lad in Dubai, and if you don't know how, but I'd say I wouldn't like to be beside him for the next week. He's what's walking at the moment.
There was a bit of, there certainly was a bit of Porter, I think, when she won the Grade 1 spilling over in Dubai. You've never seen something.
They're still ahead. They're still ahead.
Fair play. John, look, it was a pleasure talking to you. I wish you a good weekend, and hopefully the water isn't as choppy on the way back. Safe home to Bagenalstown.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
All right, John.
Always good to hear from the Shark, and he's not coming across to Isha just for a day out in London, I don't think. Barry, what do you make of it? Small field, but Skyace hasn't actually covered himself in glory since that day at Fairyhouse, has he?
No. Shark thinks she's come on for the run. She's had 14 runs. So a lot more experience than some of these. Obviously beat Galois in the Grade 1 at Fairyhouse before coming down next time at Punchestown. You know, they were off levels that day. My suspicion is that, I suppose, Galois went on to be mightily impressive next time out. And I think, you know, she won by 10 lengths at Punchestown. We haven't seen her. She is coming off a break. I think she may have more scope to maybe improve. You know, she could be the improver in here. So, you know, she obviously is rated 142. Skyace the same. She gets a £1. She's probably the rightful favourite. I do think Skyace, though, to be fair, is a big old price at 9-1. I think the Irish hold the aces in here, even though the British horse, Martello Sky, is officially rated £1 better than each of the Irish horses. I'd probably side with Galois for the win. Speaking of Shark, the ground, I'm not sure if he's entirely happy with the ground. I'd love her to run well for the Shark. He's obviously going well. He has given us a couple of other horses to look out for over the next couple of weeks. But if you were to nail me right now for a selection, I'd probably just side with the Mullins filly.
And running them, the 3 British, probably Martello Sky, the most likely to mix it with the Irish, because there was a lot to like about that win over Indefatigable last time.
Yeah, yeah. Excuse me. She's definitely top of the British, I'd say, Mike. Yeah, then that run was really good. Indefatigable is a good mare at Cheltenham over that distance, especially. She won the Martin Pipe over that distance, and Martello Sky always kind of looked like she was holding her to the line, even though it was only a neck in the end. And she comes out top on ratings here, as Barry mentioned, and she's had a brilliant season. Even a run before that, she was 4th. She finished 4th to Brewing Up a Storm in a Grade 2 at Aintree. That was a big run against the Geldings. She has race fitness on side. Galois is having her seasonal debut as well. That win she had last time was at Punchestown, and so she's coming here on for her seasonal debut. But yeah, you just have it in your head that Willie will have her ready to roll. He's not obviously coming over for the sake of it, but and Galois is a filly that has lots of scope to improve, whereas Skyace has kind of gone the opposite direction since they met at Fairyhouse. Galois has kind of improved. She was really good on that run at Punchestown. She's unexposed over this trip, and the soft ground is probably key to Mullins camp coming here as well. They've kept a lot of their good horses back, and they know they get soft ground here. It probably will make a difference. I'm not going to have a play in this race, but I wouldn't rule out the other British horse either. Anything for love, the old meatball or meatloaf angle even. Jamie Snowden again, course and distance winner, the Grade 2 last season. Maybe you can ignore her first 2 runs this season. She was 4th and 3rd on account of the ground. She got it together last day at in a handicap hurdle, won nicely at Foss Last, I think it was, back on heavy ground, and she's back at Sandown now, back over this course and distance where she won the Grade 2. I think she could outrun maybe 9-1, so I wouldn't discount her. But between the two, I just don't want to take on the Mullins mare with Martello Sky. I just think I've done that enough times and got stung, taking on Willie Mullins mares with other mares from other yards. So I'll leave it from them. But anything for love is potentially a little overrated at 9-1, in my opinion.
Yes, that nice Uncle Willie. He loves doing that, doesn't he? Well, that talks us through the big cards on Saturday. It's a fairly quiet weekend in Ireland in terms of racing as well, after all the dramas, and we'll talk more about them in a minute, of Leopardstown, Limerick, etc. But the feature race in Ireland this weekend comes on Sunday. Don't have the final field yet, but the Dan and Joan Moore Memorial is always a great race. It's a 2-miler. There's 80,000 euros in the pot, and 15 horses are in it, and 3 of them for the Rob Corp, including Capuccia Mix and January Jets. Ronan, have first innings on this. My initial reaction was, what does Mr. de Bromhead run here? And that could be crucial. What do you make of it?
Definitely, you always look at Henry's horses in the 2-mile race, in the 2-mile chases. I guess there was a team over Christmas where you were kind of slightly worried about Henry's horses. Obviously, Envoy Alan won, but that wasn't much of a race. And he did have a nice winner down in Limerick. Spyglass Hill won the Tim Duggan, but a lot of his horses were maybe a little under the weather or weren't up to scratch. So that was slightly be in the back of my mind. Although I've always liked this Capucci Mix that he has. Thought I was going to back him at a big price to win his beginner's chase at Navan one year when he started off, and he was beaten by Cashback, who emerged into a real good horse that season. And Capucci Mix, I think, is potentially better than a mark of 137, but comes here off a long break. So just wondering about that. We've no prices, Mike, I guess, which is the main thing to make known now. But a couple, I think, can run well and go well, and wants to keep an eye on it. Exit poll for Jessica Harrington again. He was second, did everything right at Leopardstown, and just got mug laid on by Grange Walk, who also runs here, and he was second to Dunvegan, who also runs here again in the Grade B 2-mile race, 2-mile handicap chase that was at the Winter Festival at Fairyhouse. I actually thought Dunvegan had the measure of Grange Walk all the way there. Grange Walk came to claim him after the last under a good ride from Danny Mullins, and Dunvegan and Brian Cooper held him all the way to the line. And he's actually, I believe he's 3 from 3, I think, at Fairyhouse Dunvegan. For whatever reason, he's been a bit of a frustrating horse elsewhere, but seems to get it done at Fairyhouse. Logical to come back here for this race, and I'd imagine he'd be close to favourite Dunvegan to do the double. A lot of horses go for that Grade B handicap chase at Fairyhouse the first day and then come back here for the Dan Moore. So he'd set the standard for me, Mike, I think. Keeping an eye on the likes of Capucci Mix there, especially if there was any money for him in the market.
And when the late time reading is allowed by the new lady in your life, what have you come up with this, Barry? Where's the Doyle shilling or the Doyle euro here?
You'd usually be looking for a couple of green and white hoops in a race like this, thinking, I suppose, further afield towards maybe something like the Grand Annual. You'd be looking at a couple of JPs buried out the back. This year, I'm not quite sure if it's the strongest Dan Moore. Roland mentioned a horse I like, Dunvegan. It's hard not to. I think the form of the race at Fairyhouse last time, the Grade B, Grange Walk has obviously come out and won. Buddy Rich is a horse that I would be keen to be following come the springtime. I think there's more left than his mark in terms of 138. January Jets was obviously in behind. So I think it was interesting listening to Pat Fahey. I've been a long-term fan of this Dun Vegan, and you know, they kind of found the key to him. I think last time, bouncing him out, dropping him back in trip. You know, he'd raced over further. He raced over 2 miles 6. They've tried him at all sorts of trips, 3 miles last season. Like he ran in the TS days last year, and I quite fancied him in that. So they've brought him all the way back in trip. I think they found the key to him last time. Pat Fahey referred to that, sending him out in trip. He is quite lightly raced, even though he is a 9-year-old. He's only had 11 starts over fences, and he's only gone up 7 pounds, which is not a terrible going over. Grange Walk obviously has gone up for his win. I think they'll be coming here looking to capitalise again, and he's an interesting entry in the Queen Mother Champion Chase, which kind of surprised me to see his name listed. He's 100 to 1 for that. So, but I think this horse, we obviously don't have betting. I'd imagine he would be closer to the front of the market, but I'd certainly be with him. I was impressed with him last time.
Okay, that's talked us through that. And of course, we are still very much reflecting upon what happened. You mentioned the Queen Mother Champion Chase, the entries for that out this week. And it is, 11 weeks to the festival itself. So what we'll try and do in the weeks that lie ahead, trying to give you an even better and more comprehensive words of wisdom from the gang on Champ.ie, is talk about positives and negatives with the Cheltenham Festival in mind, even at this early stage. So say to the two lads, let's go back. You can go back to Stephen's Day, Boxing Day. From then onwards, let's start with one horse that impressed you and which may well have gone into a short list. Ronan, start with you.
Plenty of horses impressed me, Mike. With regard to a bet for Cheltenham, just trying to narrow it down here. I think Galvin, I think there's a bit of juice in his price for the Gold Cup. I think he did really well to win at Leopardstown, just the way the race kind of panned out. And I think the extra 2.5 furlongs of a Cheltenham Gold Cup could really suit him. He's a National Hunt Chase winner. He's an up-and-coming chaser. He's got a terrific record over fences. And he beat the 1-2-3 from the Savills last season, the exact same 1-2-3. So he's progressed past the standard, and that was a good standard when you take in that Kemboy went on to win the Irish Gold Cup last season, and Aplutar went on to finish second. So I think 6 to 1 about Galvin is very interesting now for the Gold Cup. I played him after the Savills at that sort of price, and he goes straight there, I believe, which is always a help. Now he's not going to run again, and goes well fresh as well. So yeah, Galvin was probably one of the better ones I thought from Christmas. Yeah.
And the thing about it is they've always played his stamina. Remember, before Gordon had his spot of turbulence, bringing him to Cheltenham in October of last year, making sure he was qualified for the National Hunt Chase, because all he wanted to do was stay. Come back to you for a one that disappointed you in a moment. Barry, what about you?
Well, Mike, you know I never stick by the rules, so you asked me for one, so I'm going to give you 3. I'm going to give you Florian Porter. I've heard some mixed opinions, lots of talk about the start of the race, but he ran exactly how I expected him to run in terms of, I suppose, the performance. I thought the race was a very decent. I think the form could work out quite well. Burning Victory was how many lengths back in third? So they came well clear. Obviously, Classical Dream got the head start at the front, which is probably, you look at Florian Porter, the way he likes to go, the way he saw out the race. I thought it was a plus to how well he ran, considering he wasn't going from the front like he usually does. So I thought it was encouraging to see. You know, a lot of people think that this horse has to go from the front. So he didn't exactly spit out the dummy or anything. I thought he ran a very credible race in second. I think tactics in the Stayers hurdle is going to be fascinating. But to finish 2 lengths behind Classical Dream, and something about that performance. Obviously, he's fragile. Obviously, we haven't seen him an awful lot, but I wouldn't be surprised if that form is reversed at the Cheltenham Festival. Florian Porter came out of Cheltenham last year, and he was probably, all the talk was about Bob Ollinger, Honeysuckle, but I don't think he might have got the credit he deserved for his win. The only thing I would say about Florian Porter is he had 20 runs, so he's had plenty of running, but he's quite young still. He's only a 7-year-old. But at 7-1, I think, best price. It was earlier in the week anyway when we put him up. I think he's a decent price at that. We don't know about Classical Dream. He is fragile, as I said. Champ, will he go for the race? I think Florian Porter's rock solid. He's going straight to Cheltenham. The other two then, Aljagori Devassi. She really impressed me. She was well in based on her French form. She done the business. She's a big mare now. She will jump a fence, but I'd be expecting her to go to the top in the mare's novice hurdle division. And the other one, I suppose I'd like to mention, Ronan actually mentioned him on Monday's show, but Hillcrest. I'm not sure whether he is going to even go to Cheltenham. This horse is a chaser for down the line for Hemmings. He is an absolute brute of a thing. He never even got as much as a shoulder whip, and to do what he done, I think over 2.5 miles at Cheltenham. The way he came away from I Am Maximus after being headed, this horse is going to want the trip and a fence, and I think he's an absolute monster going forward into next season. But they'd be the three, I suppose, Mike, that I took from Christmas.
Okay, and then one that you put a line through. Go the other way.
Come back to me for that. Go to the groom.
Well, I'll put a positive in while you make a big decision. I've got to say, on what was very, very testing ground, there was a lot to like for me, and that maybe you'll get into a handicap about Tiapu. I don't know what they're going to do with the horse. Limerick Tiapu beating Calixios, for me, that looked rock solid form. I'm going to let Ronan have last word on this. Come hell or high water, Barry. So now you name your negative. And don't blame getting married as an excuse. Or should we give him one? Should we say Energumine, having seen Siskin win at Kempton? No, I'm not going to lift that one up just yet.
As I said, come back to me. I'm thinking. I don't want to talk waffle here, Mike. I want to actually think about this one because it's a good question.
All right, then, Ronan, go on. We'll let the old boy. He's still got a hangover from his wedding, so come on. Have you got one that you?
Here's thinking that Barry actually had his stuff prepared, seeing as he was the one who set the agenda. I'll stick on the Gold Cup route, Mike. Just think A Plutar was a little bit disappointing for me in the Savills. So kind of taking a strong view on the race with regards to the Gold Cup market. Look, Rachel tried to hem Galvin in coming for the turn for home, and it just wasn't there. It wasn't the finishing kick that he produced last year wasn't there. Now, obviously, it didn't go with strong pace, but he's beat Mellon and Kemboy again, basically running to the same standard maybe as he was last year, and that's fine, I guess. But I think it's been kind of built into the price of A Plutar for the Gold Cup this season is that he might be a much better horse than he was last season. The way he won a Haydock, he sluiced home there. But it's hard to make that call when he just about beat Kemboy and Mellon again, just as he did last year, and the young and up and coming horse that Galvin is actually improved by him. So I think I'm definitely taking Galvin there on the price comparison with A Plutar for the Gold Cup. It wouldn't actually be hugely surprising to me if they flip-flop by the time when we're doing all the previews for Cheltenham, and even on the day, Galvin was close to favourite for the Gold Cup. So as I said, taking a strong view in that race, but that's what you got to do. All
right. Are you still lost for words? Are we still watching this historic moment of you being lost for words?
Yeah, no, listen, it's quite obvious, but I see lots of people talking about Manila Endo coming back to win a Gold Cup. It was just an incredibly disappointing performance. I think Henry has said, I'm not even sure, like, going into Christmas, I couldn't have backed him anyway for the race. I'm not sure if Kempton is the sort of track that would, but I thought he ran desperate, and he was bet far too early in the race. I don't know. I know he disappointed a couple of times last year in the build-up to Cheltenham, and Cheltenham is his course, but to me, there's just something not right there. And, I think people are trying to make a case for him. Is it 10 or 12 to 1 for the Cheltenham Gold Cup? I think he's a desperate price at that. I think he should be double the price. So that would be...
That's your one.
That would be my one.
Okay, it's time to wrap it up. Reminder, of course, next week, huge week coming up with lots of action, including the Cerviniaco Conti Chase and the Lanzarote Hurdle at Kempton, the Warwick Staying Race, great racing in Ireland, Punchestown, the Moscow Flyer amongst the racing action. So there's a lot to look forward to. And there is, as we roll forward now towards Cheltenham, there is big racing, one or both sides of the Irish Sea every week. And the Champ.ie experts, so that's what it says here, will be giving you their all in searching for winners galore. So let me ask, first of all then, nap and next best for this weekend. Barry Doyle.
Nap, I go, shall we have one more in the without market at 11 to 4? That's my nap. I think you'll run a big race. And I'll go next best, Gwen, Silly, Burbass, each way in the veterans. But if we had a price, and we don't have a price, Dunvegan, I think, will take a lot of beating on Sunday at Fairyhouse.
Well, he's been a groom a few weeks ago. He's a permanent groom. And let's see if we can wipe the lone grin off his face. Ronan, what do you fancy?
Yeah, I go and nap. Sir Ivan in 3 o'clock at Sandown, the veterans race. I think each way at 10 to 1. He seems rock solid to run well again. And next best, going to put up one up at Cork, 3:23. Carroll's Cottage. First time into a handicap chase. £7 lower than his rating over hurdles. And I thought he ran quite well in what turned out to be quite a good beginner's chase at Navan last day. Farouk Delen won that race and went on to finish very close second in the Grade 1 at Limerick on St. Stephen's Day. So I think Carroll Cottage off a mark of 122 in a soft enough looking handicap chase at Cork would be interesting. I think he's a price around 11 to 2.
Well, you always like to end these occasions with a good laugh, so here are mine. Wincanton 205 to races on ITV4. Jonathan Burke, Tom George partnership going well. Kazza Talbin very consistent. Doesn't look the strongest race you'll ever see. And I think the Moors could have a good day at Sandown. I don't disagree with Barry, but I think Darabin of bottom weight in the 115 might be their best chance. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the first Champ.ie 2022 podcast. First of many. 10 weeks to Cheltenham, 14 weeks to Aintree, 18 weeks to Punchestown, and 6 months for those of you that don't pay your television licence. On which note, thanks to the two wise men, Barry Doyle and Ronan Groome, and we'll see you soon, and enjoy your racing.
Inside the final 150 yards, this is a special year, and it's a Hattons for the break. And it's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumen by a romping 10.